Have you ever watched figure skating on TV and been completely confused by the final results? Maybe you wondered why someone that fell got the gold? Or maybe you thought one skater was better, but someone else outscored them, and you didn't understand why? Well, you're not alone. Figure skating scoring is complicated, and it can be difficult to understand, even for those of us that are heavily involved in the sport. We have to sometimes dive deep into the scoring sheet to understand the scores. So I can only imagine how challenging it can be for a more casual viewer that maybe only watches figure skating every 4 years during the Winter Olympics. Even for those that watch Grand Prix, Nationals, and Worlds every year, it can still be confusing. Like gymnastics and diving competitions, judging in figure skating is subjective. Hopefully going to simplify it so that you can better understand what you're watching. If we're just meeting, my name is Amy and I'm a PSA ranked and rated figure skating coach, as well as an ISSA certified elite trainer and PN1 certified nutrition coach. Okay, so figure skating scoring. When I was a kid and up until 2004, scoring was much easier to understand. In those days, we used an easily understood system that we refer to as 6.0. Skaters would get 2 marks for each performance. One was the technical score, and the other was the artistic or presentation score. It was widely understood that 6.0 was the highest score, and every decimal below that was just a little bit off the mark. Whichever skater received the highest score, when they were all added up, came in first. But then in 2002, something happened that would change figure skating. At the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City, Utah, there was a pretty big scandal. Alina Brezhnev and Anton Sakilych of Russia won the short program over Jamie Salei and David Peltier of Canada in the figure skating pairs competition. During the short program, the Canadians had tripped and fallen on their closing position.
Whoa! Oh no!
Sometimes adrenaline just takes over. Sell it big, you know you're gonna sell it, but oops.
That's what I mean. You can't ever stop thinking.
There, that's what we meant.
Well, that's not going to affect the mark.
Because the fall was not on an element, it didn't receive a deduction, resulting in the Canadian pair being placed second, behind the Russian pair. Then the Russian pair made a minor yet very noticeable technical error in the free skate. Meanwhile, the Canadians skated to Love Story, a free skate they had used in previous seasons, and it had been well received at the Grand Prix final right before the Olympics. The Canadians skated a flawless program and received 5.9s and 5.8s for technical merit. Meanwhile, the Russians mainly received 5.8s and 5.7s for their technical scores. But, and here's where it gets interesting, the Canadians received only 4 5.9s for presentation versus the Russians 7 5.9s. This is especially puzzling when some experts considered the Canadian program to be of a lesser difficulty than the Russian program. At the time, presentation was weighted more heavily than the technical merit. The Canadians needed to receive at least 5 5.9s in their presentation score to overtake the Russians for first place. Since they did not receive the scores needed, the Russians wound up placing first and took the gold, with the Canadians being awarded the silver medal. When the results were announced,
Comes down to the second mark. Oh!
The placements.
How did that happen?
The placements, look at this.
How did that happen?
No!
They won that program.
2s and 4 number 1s.
They won that program. There's not a doubt anyone in the place except for maybe a few judges. That will be debated forever.
Second place.
Debated forever.
The judges seem befuddled.
Broken
Need
ties.
5 number 1s, they got 4.
Broken ties.
This competition.
there was immediate suspicion of cheating.
It was a 5-4 split that night, as close as it gets on the panel. The vote mostly broke down along former party lines, with former Eastern Bloc judges picking the Russians, the Western judges choosing the Canadians. Marie Ren-Lagunia's decision, of course, was the one aberration.
There was almost immediate suspicion.
What about the French judge? Well, after the competition at the judges' hotel, she tearfully told bystanders that she had cast her vote under pressure. At the judges' meeting the next morning, she confessed again in front of her peers.
The French judge broke down into tears and started crying and saying, "You don't understand what pressure I'm under."
She said she was under pressure and that it was not her own opinion. And I think it has to be taken serious, yes.
The French judge initially claimed that her own federation pressured her to cast her vote for the Russian pair. But recently, she held a press conference and changed her story. She now claims she voted her conscience, but was later approached by Canadian supporters who intimidated her into making up her original story.
As soon as I had put down my pen, I started to suffer from a series of attacks, physical, verbal, and the worst, moral. I was trapped, and people behaved toward me in a manner worthy of a police dictatorship. This led me to say what these people wanted me to say. So, because of my emotional state, I couldn't take it anymore. I broke down.
It was alleged that this was part of a deal to gain an advantage for the French in ice dance. The Canadian media and the public were outraged by this result. On February 15th, the ISU and the International Olympic Committee announced in a joint press conference that the Canadian silver medals would be upgraded to gold medals and that the Russians were to keep their gold medals as there is no evidence of wrongdoing on their part. The point totals of both pairs were thrown out though, and for the first time in history, the award ceremony was repeated. The French judge was suspended effective immediately for misconduct. Later, on April 30th, 2002, the French judge and the president of the French skating governing body were suspended by the ISU for 3 years and prohibited from attending the 2006 Winter Olympics. In addition to disciplining the French officials, the ISU adopted a policy of anonymous judging as part of the then new ISU judging system. But if you think that sounds weird, you're not alone. Critics pointed out that instead of preventing judges from cheating, secrecy only preventing the public and media from finding out that there was cheating.
How does this help you? It seems to me that it's important to say who is the judge and what did they vote and how did they vote. Openness is the issue, not hiding everything.
But it took a while to discontinue this practice. The policy of anonymous judging continued for about 12 years until it was discontinued at the ISU Congress in June of 2016. In the meantime, some changes were made that are still in place today. The International Judging System, IJS, was trialed in 2003. In 2004, the ISU adopted it, making it mandatory at all international competition, including the 2006 Winter Olympics, replacing the 6.0 system. Initially, there were 12 judges required. In 2008, the ISU ruled to reduce the number of judges from 12 to 9 in an effort to bring costs down. IJS was developed as a collaborative global effort to produce a scoring system for figure skating that provides a precise, transparent evaluation of a competitive program's technical and artistic aspects. The marks are divided into two basic categories: the technical element score for the feats of athleticism performed by the skater, and the program component score reflecting 5 different artistic aspects of the program. These two categories of scoring are independent from each other. As was the case with 6.0, a given program may garner a high component mark, but lower scores for technical ability. Likewise, component scores may be low, with higher scores for technical prowess. Component scores will differ from one component to the next. Additionally, creative execution scores, or GOE, may generally vary from one element to another, up to and including the 2017-2018 season. The creative execution, or GOE, scoring system for each program element ranged between -3 and +3. But beginning in 2018 to 2019, the GOE was expanded to range from -5 to +5. When you're watching figure skating on TV, often the network will place the running technical score on the screen. It's important to remember that these scores are in real time before they're certified. It can take a while for the officials to certify the results. sometimes they must review elements before they can do that. Therefore, there's sometimes a significant delay in receiving the scores in the IJS system. Also, the scores that you see on screen are only for the technical element. The technical element score combines the grades of execution, or GOEs, for each element, plus the numerical degree of difficulty assigned in the scale of values. But this is only one half of the score. The other half is the program component score, or PCS, which is calculated and factored by specified percentages. All 5 program component marks are factored equally and then added together. The idea behind factoring is to make the program component score equal in weight to the technical element score, TES. It is this factored sum that constitutes the PCS. This can be complicated, so I don't want to bore you with all the details in this video, but if you're interested in learning more, I have an entire video series about each of the program components. There's a link to them in the description down below. Totaling the competition score, the technical element score is added to the program component score. This will give you the total segment score, or TSS. At the end of a competition, the skater is provided with a scoring sheet, and we call this a protocol. The protocol details the evaluation results of each aspect of the program. It provides all the details of the technical elements as well as each of the program components. A skater's jump may look perfect to you, but there are strict rules. For example, if a skater lands on the incorrect edge, they'll receive fewer points. So let's look at one of these protocols. This is what a skater sees. And I know it looks super confusing. Believe it or not, it's actually really helpful to the skater. I'm gonna hopefully help you understand it too. Let's break it down. Let's go over the technical element first. This is what you'll often see on the screen when you're watching skating on TV. Each element is listed on the left. When a skater executes an element during the program, the technical panel identifies each element and determines its level of difficulty. Every jump, spin, and sequence has a specific code. The elements with numbers before the codes are jumps, indicating the number of revolutions or the number of times the skater rotated in the air. Elements with a number after it are spins and footwork sequence. Non-jumping elements have levels that correlate with 5 base values. The number indicates the level of difficulty. Next to each element is its base value. The scale of values, or SOV, assigns a specific base value to each technical element, reflective of its difficulty. A group of experts, including experienced skaters and coaches, determine the base values for each element. The values and levels are determined by the edges used, the number of rotations, etc. But a judge must still determine a grade of execution, or GOE, for whichever element and level are called by the technical panel. All elements have a point value attached to them. The base value is what a standard value is for each element. There are sometimes signs next to them, a less than or sideways caret, and a double less than or 2 sideways carets indicate an error. A jump with a sign of Q keeps the full original base value of the jump. A jump with the sign of 2 carets is evaluated with the value of the same jump with 1 less revolution. The sign of a small e and explanation points indicate an error. The base values of the jumps with the sign of E are listed in the SOV table. A jump with the sign of an exclamation point keeps the full original base value of the jump. Both a downgrade and an under rotation will adjust the base value of a jump. A clear, visible jump is required for flying spins with no change of foot in only one position. The sign of V indicates that this requirement was not met. All spins with a change of foot must have 3 revolutions on each foot. In the short program, a spin that does not meet this requirement will get no value. In the free skate, the sign of E indicates that this requirement was not met. A spin with a position with a change of foot must have 2 revolutions in a basic position on each foot. In the short program, a spin that does not meet this requirement will get no value. In the free skate, the sign V indicates that this requirement was not met. the base values of spins with the sign of V, and the base values of a spin combination and pair spin combinations with only 2 basic positions are listed in parentheses in the SOV table. Are you confused yet? I'm trying. I'm doing my best to make this easy to understand. And it's a really complicated system. Stay with me here. If a base value has an X next to it, it means that a jump was performed in the second half of the program, which means that the skater gets a bonus added to the base value. This is done because it can be a lot more challenging to execute jumps in the second half of a program when a skater is tired. If we move over, once the technical panel determines the base value, the judges assign the element a grade of execution within a range of +5 to -5, which is added to or deducted from the base value. A bonus is added to the base value of jumps that are executed during the second half of a performance. This is where each judge's marks for each element appear. The sum of all elements with the GOE forms the technical score. This appears on the far right side of the protocol. At the bottom left is the program component score. This is sometimes referred to as the artistic mark. Program components are awarded points on a scale from 0.25 to 10, with increments of 0.25 for 5 program components to grade the overall presentation. The 5 components are skating skills, which means overall skating quality, including edge control and flow over the ice surface. Transitions, which is the varied and intricate footwork positions and movements that link all the elements. Performance. This is the involvement of the skater physically, emotionally, and intellectually as they deliver the intent of the music and composition. Composition. This is the intentional and or original arrangement of all types of movement according to the principles of musical phrase, space, pattern, and structure. And then there's interpretation. This is the personal, creative, and genuine translation of the rhythm, character, and content of the music to movement. Judges evaluate each program component based on its listed criteria. Errors, falls, and disruptions must be reflected in the mark. I go over all these components in much greater detail in my video series dedicated entirely to components. So if you're interested in hearing all about that, there's a link in the description down below. Getting back to deductions. All possible deductions are here. You can receive a deduction for a fall, and your component score will suffer as a result as well. That said, it sometimes pays to take the risk because the jump may have a very high base value. So it might make more sense to take the risk and fall for the additional points than to play it safe. So this is why you can sometimes see a skater score higher than another with falls in their program. There is some debate about that, but this protocol is super helpful for the skaters and their coaches because it's like leaving a competition with a complete critique from a technical panel and judges. With 6.0 scoring, we didn't receive anywhere near this much information. But now we use the protocol to help improve for the next competition. What do you think? Leave me a comment down below and let me know. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and share it with somebody else it could help. And just post it to your social media too. I post videos every week that can help you with your fitness, nutrition, and understand figure skating. So if you like this kind of content, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a video. This is Amy. Thank you for watching. I will see you real soon. Bye.